Basketball last night, insanity. Our buddy Peter Burns, that we've also sent out from our social media platform. I saw Taylor ranting about this on TikTok as well. 3 games last night, so that's 40, 80, 120 minutes. And teams that ended up losing led for 119 and almost the entire game.
119 and 40
minutes.
seconds.
14 seconds.
14.
So
19 minutes, 14
46 seconds, 3 teams combined and win 3 games.
That may be the most exciting night. There have been more impactful nights, but there's the tweet here from Peter. But that may have been the most exciting night of finishes in SEC basketball history. It was absolutely crazy. Let's start with, I don't know, you pick one. Pick one of the
Let's
three
go Ole
leagues.
Miss, Texas A&M.
That's where I was going to go anyway.
That was the most impactful because that's 2 ranked teams.
2 ranked teams, and in that game, Ole Miss is at the line, right, with a chance to ice this thing.
Ice it away. In fact, personal for a moment, Lance and I had been at trivia. We rode together, so I dropped him at his house, and I flipped it over to Sirius XM 190, and I was getting the A&M broadcast, and their guy was packing it in. He was bitching about one of the officiating calls, all the things.
Don't you love the local broadcast?
Yeah,
I do.
He anticipated that foul. The referee that called it was behind the dribbler. I mean, he is so pissed. So he's already packing it in. So I packed it in myself. I started looking for another game, and then I get home and I'm like, holy crap, A&M won that game.
Yeah.
How did they win that game?
So 62-60 at the free throw line, seconds remaining, and they miss the free throw, and A&M goes down and hits the 3, and they walk out with a win, and without ever leading until those final ticks of the clock.
And if you're Chris Beard, you feel like you stole one in Tuscaloosa.
Yep.
And now you gave this one back. Their first home loss of the year, and with their defense, you just don't expect them to blow a lead like that, and especially Wade Taylor IV, A&M's best player, back for his second game. He was bad last night. He's just off right now. 4 points, 5 turnovers, but they closed on an 11-2 run. I had A&M plus the points last night. I never expected them. We'll get to the game that I lost, so it balanced out for me too. I never expected A&M to be able to come back in that environment and win that game. That's a big, big win for the Aggies.
Absolutely.
So if you're scoring on the clock, it was about 12 seconds that A&M led there because Ole Miss got it back and had a couple of shots.
And now they're tied at 4-2. I mean, in that next group that's behind Auburn and Alabama, there's A&M and Ole Miss. That was so massive for Buzz Williams. I don't know that they can win the conference by any stretch. Alabama's already beaten them on their home floor, and they've still got to play Auburn. But, I mean, you're not going to win the conference if you continue to lose games in the first half of the schedule. So for Texas A&M, they at least kept it with an arm's length.
How do you think some of these teams are going to be viewed with 7 or 8 losses in conference?
They should be viewed
by the committee?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to that after we do last night.
Because I was just going to say, 9 ranked teams, I think it's going to be really interesting what you do with seeding when you're playing night in, night out top 15 teams.
Yeah, because, the metrics will keep them. It'll be churning, as Brown says. One of my favorite phrases. Now it'll get into a blender.
Yep.
And
Jim's putting a lot of things in the blender right now. I don't know if you noticed.
It'll continue to churn out great metrics. But also last night, before we do the bad beat, let's go to South Carolina, where Florida is down 14 at one point. Number 5 Florida is down 14 at South Carolina, where we saw them get 8,000 shots in the final 0.6 seconds to have a chance to beat Auburn. And at the end, for about 4.8 seconds, Florida leads that game. They win it 70-69 at the end.
What a terrible loss for South Carolina, too. Now 0-6 in conference. Worst SEC start since 2013, 2014. And Florida was just off last night. I mean, South Carolina shot roughly 50% from the field. Florida couldn't make a basket.
That seems to be what South Carolina does to you there, because Auburn was sort of off when they were there.
I was about to say, I mean, South Carolina is winless and appears to be the worst team in the Southeastern Conference, and they have had every opportunity to beat both Auburn and Florida on their home floor.
Yeah, and that's very scary. And South Carolina was one of the surprise teams of the SEC last year, but Florida down 14 on the road. That's a game you just don't win, as talented as Florida is.
And then there's Arkansas, who was winless coming in. We joked yesterday about Vice Sports' 6-part docuseries, Razor's Edge, Calipari and the Hogs, that's coming out on February the 10th, but just how bad that was going to be with their 0-5 start. And then before the game, Taylor is alerting us all, hey, keep an eye if this goes bad for Arkansas. We probably need to do a video about Boogie Flan, the great freshman. maybe a one-and-done guy to the NBA.
Well, you saw how I
out for the
responded,
season
right?
with a hand injury.
I saw how you responded.
LT says, no need to shoot a video. Let's save it for after the game.
Yeah, after they lose to Georgia, because I really like Georgia on the road in Fayetteville. People just desperation thinking Arkansas is going to win this game because they were winless in conference. How did they win this game? I didn't see the final sequence.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
It's Georgia, Arkansas. It's tied 65-65. Arkansas comes down. They miss a shot. It bounces around. There's a foul with 1.8 second left. The guy goes to the free throw line for Arkansas, hits the first one, 66-65, misses the second one, realizes it's coming up short. He goes from the free throw line, grabs it, and in one motion lays it in at the buzzer in 1.8 seconds to 68-65 win. Arkansas not only wins the game but covers.
Arkansas had pulled everyone off. Georgia has got 4 players, and Arkansas's got the shooter. Not Pat Bradley, but the actual shooter. And
by the way, plus 1.5 Georgia.
yeah. Oh no, it's as bad a beat as you will ever see. I mean, there's no way that's going to happen because actually with 1.8 to go, if Georgia gets the rebound and quick timeout, they've got time for something.
Yeah,
I don't know if they had a timeout.
But either way, they've got it, and they got a Christian Leitner.
Christian Leitner. If they've got a timeout, they could set a play. If not, you just got to turn and heave. The game's not over. Yeah, I mean, this is not just
but
like...
your point, Cal has pulled him off the line because we don't want to foul.
That's the one thing that could get Arkansas beat right there is fouling, and Cal's pulled him off the line. The ball does take a pretty nice shooter's bounce, but there is zero chance the shooter ought to get that rebound. That's just lazy by Georgia. Nobody gets the shooter.
This game was a blowout because we're watching at Odie's. They're down 15. Arkansas shoots 31%. They hit 3 threes last night, 13% behind the arc, and they still find a way to win this game and cover.
Georgia's cruising until the very end, and that's the night in the SEC.
There is no way you've ever had 3 conference teams that are trailing by a combined, I want to say, 40 points collectively, and down 119 minutes, 14 seconds to 120 minutes.
It's as exciting I don't want to call it a meaningless night in the SEC. I guess it just means more every night, right?
Right.
But for a night that didn't decide any championships or anything, it's about as exciting a night as you could have of SEC basketball.
It's crazy. I recorded Bama and Bourbon with our friend Aaron Suttles from Alabama yesterday, and I brought it up. I was like, I normally really don't get into basketball until February.
Till after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but the SEC is so good this year. It seems like night in, night out, you've got all of this excitement. You've got 9 ranked teams. And it seems like March basketball every night, and you got that last night with the only 3 games on the board. Every one of them was complete drama.
Now, to your point about the committee and how they'll be judged and everything, first, I said something on the show yesterday that for some reason is getting taken as a negative by Auburn fans that somehow I was getting negative tweet from Auburn Twitter last night. But I said yesterday on the show, this point moving forward, LT, that Auburn could lose 4 conference games moving forward and still be a 1 seed in the tournament. And I'm 100% confident of that. I even said on the show that if they lose 5 conference games is when the debate starts on whether they're even a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Do you believe that too, that Auburn could lose 4 conference games, end up 14-4 in this league with their resume as the number 1 overall seed right now, and they'd still be a 1 seed?
Well, I mean, I think the teams around them right now, Duke, I don't know if Duke's going to pick up another loss.
Yeah, I mean,
they
Duke,
may not.
The ACC
but
is so
let's
down.
just go on.
There are 4 1 seeds.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's just go on and give them one of the 1 seeds. Iowa State in the Big 12 is going to lose another game or 2.
Yeah.
Auburn's already beaten them head-to-head, whatever that means. So
everything else is just churning SEC at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Alabama, Florida, Tennessee. I mean, Houston's already got 3 losses. So, I mean, it sounds weird to say moving forward because at that point, then you're losing, about 30% of your games?
Yeah, they've got 13 SEC games left, and that's me saying if they're 9-4, there's not even a chance they're off the 1 line. That's 9-4 over your next. That's losing 4 games of your next 13, and that's not even a chance you're off the 1 line.
So part of the reason this makes sense is if Auburn, if they've got 4 losses in conference, what's the rest of the conference? They're going to be probably your regular season champion.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to be impossible with as good as the SEC is to seed an NCAA tournament and not have the SEC regular season champion as a 1 seed, almost regardless.
Well,
of
I don't know who else would sneak up there.
Yeah, well, there's the last bracketology we saw, they had 3 SEC teams as a 1 seed, including Alabama. Alabama
was it Tennessee or Florida?
It was Tennessee. It was before
Tennessee's
they lost
4 in the net right now. Yeah.
Tennessee was in the mix.
So your net right now is Auburn 1, Duke 2. If you just seeded by the net, which they don't always do, but it's
important.
It's important.
Yeah.
Auburn's your overall 1, Duke's your overall 2, Houston 3, Tennessee 4. Your 2 seeds, based just on the net, would be Iowa State, Florida, Alabama, Illinois.
Yeah.
I do feel really good saying Auburn and Duke are 1 seeds right now, and then everybody else is battling for 2 number 1s.
And my point is, it's hard. It's almost impossible. It would take them falling apart for them not to be a 1 seed at this point. And that's just a credit to everything they did pre-conference and what they've done in conference so far. I would go ahead.
Can you explain to me why they thought you were taking a shot at Auburn?
I don't know. I mean, I could read you.
Well, read me a couple.
I think here's what I would say.
No, it had nothing to do with the landmine.
Oh, okay. I thought he was speaking it into existence when he said that Auburn was going to win a national championship. They lost to Yale. When he talks about them having 4 or 5 losses.
Yeah. It's just off of Taylor's tweet. I believe Auburn would have to lose 5 games for them to fall off the number 1 line.
Okay, there is no way even people that hate you could look at that and say, you're taking a shot at my team. So explain to me why they think you're taking a shot at the team.
Eli, that's just not true. It's nearly impossible to go through this SEC without 5 losses, laughing my ass off. I don't even know what you're saying.
No, I think you're probably getting other fan bases.
No, I checked every one of these.
All these are Auburn fans.
Auburn Twitter.
I checked.
Yeah, no, I did. I was like.
Can you imagine if you would have had social media as a teenager?
No, it's all. I'm glad I didn't.
Hugh Friesen, obviously Auburn fan. I didn't know Rogaine for men caused mental retardation. I don't even think I can say that word anymore.
And
I was like,
it's a shot at you.
And I was like, dude, are you misreading what we're saying? But my point is, back to the SEC, we're trending towards not just Auburn. Alabama is in a situation they can lose a handful of games and still be in the conversation for a 1 seed when it's over, or a 2 seed, which 1 seed, 2 seeds are always it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, in my opinion. Tennessee is that loss to Vandy. They're in a different situation, staring at Auburn this weekend. But I didn't know all the protocols. I knew there were protocols, but the selection committee, when it comes to conferences, had to change a little bit with the Big Ten and SEC expanding already. But Matt Norlander at CBS writes this. He says it's a lock right now. The SEC has 11 teams in. He says likely.
We're in January.
He's done the math and just the quad 1 losses and wins.
Okay.
He goes,
so he says
11 teams are locked.
Which is that not the record? Am I right about that?
Ties the record.
Ties the record. Yep.
12 is in play, and 13 is a possibility.
How deep does 13 take you right now? Hang on.
It takes you to everybody but South Carolina, Arkansas,
LSU, and Oklahoma.
LSU, Oklahoma. One of those would have to rise up. And
that's all your 1 or 0 loss teams. So he's saying at least one of those teams is in. If you got to 13, so either Oklahoma, LSU, Arkansas, it's hard to think South Carolina could at this point. One of those 3 turns the ship and makes it.
I don't know how you can say that. Like I do believe. I mean, obviously, all your 9 ranked teams are in right now, but I don't like Vanderbilt, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma. I don't know how you can say those teams are locks.
He's got 11 at lock. That's what Norlander says. But his point was, the committee, the top 16 that they seed, and we'll get a look at what the committee thinks is the top 16 coming up here in a few Saturdays.
I'll see if I can find that out. Yeah, when they
usually about a
it.
month, usually 4 weekends or 5 weekends away from Selection Sunday, they do. The committee actually releases their top 16 to sort of let you know where they are in their thinking right now. The projection right now is that there are 7 SEC teams in the top 16, and he says by rule, they usually take the conferences and spread them out of the top 4 seeds, top 16 in the league, and spread them out across each bracket. Like if the SEC had 4 in the top 16, they'd have 1 in the South, 1 in the East, 1 in the Midwest, 1 in the West. You wouldn't be faced in the same bracket. He says they are going to be faced of breaking their own protocol if there are 7 of the SEC in the 16, that you'll have to throw 2 of the best of each, 2 of the best in the league in in each of 3 of the 4 brackets.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a numbers thing. And, unfortunately, fortunately for the SEC, you're getting that many teams in, but you're going to see a lot of SEC on SEC action.
They said that by protocol, they try to avoid, it's against the rules to have first-round conference matchups. They tried to avoid second-round conference matchups. And he says if they get 11, 12, or 13 in, it's impossible to not have the potential of a second-round SEC on SEC matchup. He uses an example.
Was the record the Big East, though?
The Big East is the record.
Well, do you go back? Were there second-round matchups?
I think they.
What year was that?
If you tell me, I'll pull it up.
Yeah, they use that as an example, and I think there may have been one potential that didn't pan out. But he uses the example of Tennessee as a 2 and Missouri as a 7. You can't avoid that, right? The possibility is there. If you've met twice or 3 times, you're not supposed by rule to meet until the Sweet 16 to have a chance to meet the Sweet 16. He's like, it's going to be impossible for them to follow that protocol.
Well, I don't know about that. You can put them across bracket.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be so many teams in the SEC that have played each other twice. If you've got 11 in, as you try to spread them out.
No,
I
get
bracket,
that, but I thought you were saying if you've already played 3 times.
3 times, you're not supposed to meet until the Elite 8, I think. And they're just saying.
Well, I just did not realize there were this many protocols.
So Norlander's he's saying they're going to have to, with these, the Big Ten could do this one year because it's now 18 teams, and the Big 12 could, that they're going to have to readjust and/or break their protocols just to lay the bracket out there this year. Because another thing that's happened, we lost an auto bid in the Pac-12, but that likely will be a at-large bid that's eaten up by the SEC. It was a fascinating read from Matt Norlander at CBSSports.com.
Part of the difficulty in this is remembering who was in what conference back in 2011. Was Cincinnati a Big East team still in 2011? Or were they ever a Big East team? Where was Cincinnati in 2011?
Cincinnati in 2011 was...
Seems like they were an American.
An American team?
Maybe.
Okay.
They were not a Big 12 yet.
No, they were not Big 12 yet.
So was it 2011, 2012?
Yep, it was the 2011 tournament, if I am not mistaken. It looks like they spread them out as best they could.
Yeah, that's what they do. But
yeah, I don't immediately see any second-round matchups that were possibilities. I think they spread them out enough.
Okay, I'm going to give you. So Marquette, Cincinnati was Big East.
Okay.
Marquette, Notre Dame, Cincinnati, Georgetown, South Florida, West Virginia, Connecticut, Seton Hall, Rutgers, St. John's, Pittsburgh, Villanova, Providence, DePaul, Syracuse, Louisville.
Well, Cincinnati was a 6 in the West, and UConn was a 3, and they met in the second round. Cincinnati beat Missouri, UConn beat Bucknell. So Cincinnati, UConn played, and then UConn advanced in that game.
There you go.
That was...
I think that was the only one.
Okay.
They tried to avoid it and couldn't do it back then. That's what the SEC is.
Yeah, apparently Louisville and Syracuse vacated everything that year. That's what it says here. Syracuse was 34-3, but they vacated everything.
Yeah, that's because of Rick Pitino. And if you're not paying attention, St. John's beats Xavier last night, and St. John's leads the current Big East 8-1. Did you? I don't know if you're paying attention to other conferences. The SEC is so good. But great crowd at Madison Square Garden last night. St. John's wins.
Guess what that number was?
What was it?
7.5. Overtime, they win by 8.
8-1. St. John's and Rick Pitino. He is back. So is Calipari. Finally got a win. Here is Coach Cal with the documentary coming up soon, Razor's Edge. Finally getting a W in the conference with Tyson Foods money.
I want this to make me a better coach. I want this to give me some ideas of this is when you win 30 in a row, done a couple times, but it's a totally different feel than what we went through. And so this will be, for me, and I told them, if it's going to make me a better coach going through this, it's going to make them better players going through this. But it's hard. You want to win every game. Come on. You know me as a coach and what I've done and what the expectations are the minute I step in. I'm happy we won a game for them, the players. We needed to get off the snide. When Boogie went down, everybody was saying they may not win a game. Well, that was wrong. Now let's see what we can do and where we can go from there.
That was
Okay.
fantastic.
Yeah, you stole one, by the way. You shoot 31%. He was a basket away from dropping to 0-6 in conference play, which would have been his worst conference streak, losing 6 consecutive since 1988-89 when he was at UMass.
Yeah, but and that's a lot different, Lance, than winning 30 in a row, which we've done a couple times.
Yeah.
We've done a couple
A couple
times.
times, yes.
He doesn't have an ego at all. Hey,